Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Grand Boulevard Coalition. I am your host, Bomani Obadelli, community organizer for the Grand Boulevard Coalition. The Grand Boulevard Coalition is a drug-free communities coalition focusing on the Grand Boulevard community and preventing underage drinking and drugging in the Grand Boulevard community. Today, I have a very exciting guest, a longtime friend. I would say a community extraordinaire, social worker to be, community organizer, community worker for the greater good of our people in our community. Miss Kim Ambrose Davis. Kim, how are you?
I'm great, Mr. Obadelli, and thank you for having me on today's show.
It is my pleasure, Kim. And before we get into talking about a little bit about yourself, I want to just mention the boundaries of the Grand Boulevard community from which we work in, from 51st Street on the south, 35th Street to the north, west to the Dan Ryan, east to the lake. Some of our coalition members and partners is Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church, Pastor Eric Thomas, the Institute for Positive Living, Reverend Maurice Coverson, Recovery 2000, Miss Izetta Walton, Krista Hamilton over at Centers for New Horizon, the Second Police District Commander Crystal King Smith, and also we have the Green Light Movement and the Bronzeville Community Clubhouse. But last but not least, none of the work that we do in the community, in the Grand Boulevard community, could get done without the support and the help of the Alderman in the 3rd Ward as our civic member, 3rd Ward Alderman Pat Dow. Again, this is a live show, 312-738-1060, 312-738-1060. We're talking Grand Boulevard and community, we're talking drug-free community, but we're talking about the community and community empowerment as it relates to young people. And today my guest, again, for those of you who are just tuning in, Miss Kim Ambrose Davis. So Kim, thank you for joining us again. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a product of public housing, Dearborn Homes. I was born and raised there. I have 2 wonderful children who happen to be adults now. I'm very passionate about working with our young people and our parents to empower their lives. I'm glad that the Grand Boulevard Coalition allowed me to become an intern. I am a Master's of Social Work student at Chicago State, and I'm doing my internship down in the Dearborn Homes community where I came from. I've had the opportunity to work in several communities, Englewood, Auburn Gresham, of course, Bronzeville, Roseland, which is where I just finished some work there. And I just think, it takes a village definitely to raise our children. And we have to learn how to give back to support and empower our children to be the best that they can be. I've worked in several capacities throughout the Chicago Public Schools, with the Chicago Housing Authority. I am a restorative justice facilitator. I've been a resource coordinator, a family and student support specialist, and it just warms my heart to be able to give back to our youth.
312-738-1060. 312-738-1060 is our phone number. You can get involved. So, Kim, tell me a little bit about one thing that stuck out to me, restorative justice. Tell the audience a little bit about how that works. What's that process like?
Well, restorative justice is a process where you can resolve conflict, where you give people a space to speak and communicate how they feel, a safe space as we call it. And a lot of restorative justice programs are being implemented in our public school systems. I'm also seeing where some of our families could benefit from restorative justice. And if you look back at the history of restorative justice, it started back with some of our tribes when they couldn't resolve conflict. They came together, they discussed their feelings, they put them in the forefront so everybody could understand and give respect without judgment. Without judgment is key to how people feel, and sort of work along the lines to resolve their issues. Nowadays, we see how our issues are being resolved. There's no talking. It's if you look at me the wrong way, I'm going to beat you up, and things like that. So restorative justice allows us to come to the table, provide a safe space, and talk about how we can resolve our issues.
Yeah, and so Kim, I will say, and you're the right person for that, and I'll just tell the audience a little story. So I met Kim back in my, how can I put it, my youthful activist days when I was a little bit cantankerous, when no one in a certain element of public housing wanted to deal with me based upon my public policy position and level of advocacy. And Kim happened to be employed in one of the divisions over there. I think the family support
Resident programs.
resident programs, and so
Under the auspices of my mentor, Dr. Carol Adams.
yeah. And now, it wasn't Dr. Adams. I want to make that clear. It wasn't Dr. Adams, but it was some other people. But anyway, my point is, I met Kim during that time, and it was always me and CHA, and for the most part, the staff was always just couldn't see eye to eye on some things, and our pups Kim, and it kind of, I guess it was kind of God's sense in a sense, because you always need someone to kind of balance you out and make you even headed in a sense, even in those days of being an activist. It just so happened I spent some time in Dearborn Homes too, a product of public housing, and my passion. But the point that I'm making, her level of commitment and compassion for people who are most will consider the least of the really struck at me, and we've kind of been friends. We disagree sometimes, but we've been friends ever since then, and I'm grateful to have had a person that come into my life or cross my path like him, who's doing the kind of work that I think our community needs, and I expect great things out of Kim in the future, but I'm glad that she's in a place where she can work in the community from which we've all come from. I believe we got a call, so we're going to take a call and we'll come back to some questions. Caller, you on the air?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Ray.
Yes, Ray. How are you, sir?
Yes, fine. The young lady next to you talks very, very good stuff. But you know what? A lot of those ex-offenders that get out, they probably won't show any love at home. So it started at home. So when they offend, they go to prison, and when they get out, the community forgets about them. The community is not only there to help the young kids, it's there to help the convict. You know, if you have a business, hire him, because then he'll probably go straight. He'll have something to live for instead of going back into prison. If everybody thought like this young lady, everything would be fine. But they don't. Start showing love for ex-convicts. Start showing love to young children. In fact, start showing love for everybody, and that probably would make this a better world. Thank you for talking. Let me talk.
Yeah, thank you for your call, Ray. I appreciate your comments tonight. And I would agree with one thing you said, love is key. And I think in this field, whether some of us volunteer or get paid, you really have to have a love and passion for doing community work. And so with that being said, Kim, so tell us, why did you choose this field? I mean, now you're going on to get your MSW, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
So why did you choose this field of social work and community work?
Well, living in public housing, we had a very close net. We had that extended family. And my mom and the other ladies that lived in our building, they always extended a helping hand. If you needed an egg, if you had to work late night and no one was there to watch your children, you always had somebody within that building or within that community to come together to just support you. And I see that as a missing element now. I live in a mixed income community with CHA. On CHA's property, and just getting people to become engaged, getting people to become concerned is one of the hardest things to do. Everybody likes to feel as if they have an interest in something, but if we look at it, these are all our children, these are all of our communities, and if we don't take interest in them, they're going to deteriorate. And we see some of that going on now. So I got my interest from watching positive people in my life. I had people who were always concerned about their fellow man, their neighbor. You know, our building used to get together and we would have cleanup. We would clean the stairwells. They would take us to Great America. These were some outstanding women who I've had the opportunity to know and to help me move forward in my life. And I just want to give back. It's a great sense of fulfillment to me when I can give back. When I see the young people that I've worked with, I might go to the doctor's office. Oh, Miss Ambrose, how you doing? Good to see you. Well, what are you doing now, baby? Well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Or can you help me get in college? If I'm on a bus, if I'm in a community. So just giving back and helping to invest in our young people. And not just young people, our communities in general is why I do this work. I have a heartfelt feeling for it. And I was doing it so much, I'm like, wait a minute now, I need to go back and learn some evidence-based practices and some theories behind this work. So I chose to attend Chicago State to pursue that Master's of Social Work.
And I'm glad that you chose that field. I mean, I think we need culturally competent social workers in our community and people who really understand beyond the theory. You have a understanding because you've been there, you lived it, and you have knowledge. Which brings me to a question about young people today. The state of young people today certainly a lot different than both of our youth age,
Absolutely.
right? I contend, Kim, the most difficult job today as a father is parenting a young African American teenager, in my opinion, because of all of even coming up, we didn't have the social media, you didn't have the smartphones, you didn't have access to the internet like you have now, and the gateway drugs, whether it's from popping pills to drinking lean to this hydroponic marijuana. What advice would you give to parents today, as a person who kind of work with parents and as it relates to rearing teenage children, in a sense?
Well, first of all, parents are the first role model. And our children assimilate what they see going on in the home. And if you have a dysfunctional family structure and you're not paying attention or giving that love to your child, you can expect some chaos down the road. So I think a lot of times we have a group of parents who were young parents who didn't quite understand what parenting was. And it doesn't come with a book. It's something that you learn as you go on. So when I look at today's society, again, with all of the social media, everybody wants to be a follower and fit in, and then you have the bullying element among our young people. If you don't fit in, you're going to feel like you've been ostracized. So that family structure means a lot. And if you look back in history and the policies which were created, it sort of tore our family structure down. With fathers not being there, the housing piece, you have to look at that structure, that family. But I would suggest to parents to know your child. Don't be scared of your child. You are the parent and they are the child, and you have to keep that first and foremost. And you have a responsibility to give them adequate time, to go and engage with their school, to find out who their friends are, to limit some of their TV and social media time, and just to know that you are the parent and you love them and you're supporting them. It's been many a times that I've had to, redirect my children. And I would say I have 2 college grads, Fish University and Central State University, and now that they're adults, they thank me.
Those are 2 historical black colleges, aren't they?
HBCs all the way, Mr. Oberdelli. Wilberforce in there, too.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that. I just want to know, even then, how did you convince them to do that? But go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it wasn't an option. I mean,
Okay.
Education was always, and my mom worked in the school system too. So I had the opportunity to hang around the school late, meet the teachers, help them grade papers. They would take me home with me. So I was around the culture of education. And it wasn't going to be anything less for my children. I remember when my son went to Central, and he was more of a homebody, stayed up under mom and dad. And he called me that freshman year, Mom, I want to come home. Well, sorry, Charlie, you're going to stay there and you're going to stick it out, and we're going to see you develop some resilience. That second year, I don't want to come home, Mom. I don't want to come home. And so when he graduated last year, he was like, we were getting dressed. He said, Mom, I just want to thank you for making me stay the course. Yeah. You knew it, but sometimes we have to put our kids out there, get them that support, and get them that honest to heart love. but lead them in the right direction. You're not going to always agree with them, but you know what's best for them.
Yeah.
And I see some of my parents. I remember working at Drake School, which used to be Daniel L. Williams School, and I would do attendance.
Still is Williams, Daniel Williams.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't, Mr. Obadell. It's Drake, beautiful principal there, Miss Galladay. I just met with her yesterday. We're going to do some things there, too. But anyway, you made me lose my train of thought, Mr. Obadell. You see how you do me?
Yep.
But anyway, we would do college tours. We would just expose our children to different things. But some of the young parents that I worked with back then, they have their own children now, and they would come up to their school. Why you call my child? Why you call me about attendance? Why you do this? Why you do that? Because I want to make sure your baby is here every day so they can learn every day. And now that they are adults, they're some of my Facebook friends. I see them. They give me love. I give them love, and they understood. They understand now what I was trying to do. So, it's about a development period in terms of being a parent, but you have to learn how to put your children first. And you can't go out to the club every night. Can't have a house full of people hanging around in a negative atmosphere for your children to sort of migrate to. So, yes, it's a learning process and a developing process.
Yeah, and I think that you hit it on the head. As even with GBC, we have these different sectors, and just thankful that you come to the table, even though you came in as an intern because you're getting your master's in social work. But I've known you to be what you just talked about to many parents that I've watched you cultivate and even give some tough love to, but even some correction and support to about the appropriate way to parent. And I think many, and listen, a lot of us get it wrong and we don't want to admit it. And so I contend, Kim, that we don't have a youth problem, we have an adult problem. Because we don't have adults who want to be adults and take that level of responsibility. And in many cases, we abdicate our responsibilities and allow the children to run the home. And that's just my opinion.
But one point I do want to make, Obadella, is some parents don't know how to be parents. And it's okay to say, I don't know, and to go and seek adequate resources to help you. A lot of our parents have been traumatized. Their children have been traumatized. When we talk about mental illness in our African American communities, it's a taboo, but it exists. And we have to take that cover off of it being a taboo. Yeah. Mental illness has been around in every culture for years. And until we see it as a serious illness and begin to treat it appropriately and bring the resources to the forefront, we're not going to be able to lower the rates of or treat people in an adequate manner where they can be fulfilled and be mentally sound. I know for myself, if you knew somebody who was suffering from mental illness, especially when you look at state government and policy, now where do I go get some help?
Yeah.
Where do I go get some help?
And so you couple that with children who are born to parents who are a little mentally unstable, and they born in this modern day, and they use hydroponic marijuana, alcohol, lean, and even some parents, and there have been some studies that talk about this alcoholic fetal syndrome, where where many of these young children are born addicted to alcohol. Which, fast forward, most of the young people who are going out committing these heinous crimes have admitted that they've drunk some lean, smoked a joint or marijuana.
Don't forget the pill component.
Popping pills, the opioids, which we don't, again, here we go again, from the crack era to the opioid era, but they only talk about the heroin in a sense of the Caucasian folks shooting it. They don't talk about the effects that it's having on the African American community. Like, we haven't been affected by the heroin in the opioid community. That level of disparity I'm talking about.
Yes, but we were affected back then.
Yeah.
And it still exists, believe me, and it hits home with some families.
Yeah.
But once it became for all other cultures, and they start coming in from suburban areas to purchase, it now becomes an epidemic,
Well,
and they want to give money to really fight it. It's a crisis now, but it's been a crisis in our communities.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, my point. They call 290 the Heron Highway, and when certain races are ODing, and anyway, I digress. We got a caller. Caller, you on the air?
Well, how you doing there, Kim, this evening?
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Ariolio. How you doing over there? I got a comment about drugs and stuff. We got so many drugs in this city here. Good luck trying to find where they all coming from, but we know they're here. They know they're here. I want to make a comment about medical marijuana. We're already starting off pretty good with the state of Illinois, putting that in there for medical people. So they're sick, got a cancer, trying to get off other drugs, blah, blah, blah. We're one step away from them legalizing it recreational with the marijuana, which I believe, because I'm old school. These kids today got drugs today you and I and that man sitting next to you ain't never heard of. Mind-altering drugs are really, really bad. Make your mind do really bad things that you didn't really want to do. We got to get to the problem of where all these heavy-duty drugs is coming from. And you are absolutely correct about the spots off the sides of the freeways. Ma'am, you are absolutely right. You got people coming from the suburbs, stop off of the Kennedy Expressway or the Eisenhower, pick up their party festivities, go home. Next thing you know, Raul and Pedro was shooting because the bag went the wrong way. The customer wasn't supposed to whatever. It wasn't his turn. Well, it's really going to be a hard thing to do, but let's start with that medical marijuana. Recreationalize it. I know there's a lot of old school out there that still smoke marijuana. Are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, and we're getting short on time, so I thank you for your call.
But God bless you. You're doing a great job, and God bless all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And God bless you, too. So, to the caller's point, I had a question about that. I wanted to get into a policy issue, right, Kim? There's this push to legalize marijuana. What do you think the effects will be on young people? That is my biggest concern. I understand the revenue aspect. I understand that we need revenue. I understand the decriminalization of it. My biggest concern is, will it lead to more young people consuming?
Consuming marijuana or
Yes.
consuming harder drugs? Well, first of all, they're already consuming.
Okay.
You can barely go to a gas station or any public place where you see cars and not smell it. So they're already consuming.
Or walk down certain streets loud,
and I do think it does have strong health benefits.
Oh,
So
really?
absolutely, people are in pain, and some of them need to smoke marijuana to soothe their pain. My old college roommate died,
Oh,
and she had fibromyalgia, and it would calm her down. So medicinal purposes, yes. But more than that, we have to understand that our children are who they are, and it'll be their decision whether they want to use or whether they don't want to use.
Now, Kim, don't let me find out you got them gummy bears in your purse.
No gummy bags, no gummy bags.
All right.
No gummy bears. But I do think it's about cultivating our kids to allow them to make decisions.
Yes.
They're doing it. The state of Illinois is broke. The money that other states are making, maybe we can use that here to do something constructive in terms of paying for college, providing more mental health services. So one thing I do hate about the marijuana piece, we have people still sitting in prison who sold it, but now we have people who are profiting off of it. Now that's unfair and unjust.
Yeah.
We need to fix that.
Yeah. So I hear you. I guess I'm. So part of me is we're getting the signal to wrap up. Part of me is for it. Part of me wonders about the youth effect, since we're working with youth to try to prevent underage drinking and the usage of marijuana. So I'm a little torn in that end. But as we have to wrap up, Ms. Kim Ambrose Davis, do you have some final words for us?
I think our youth are resilient. I think just within this week, we've seen them with the walkout protests, and they have the pill to fix the ill. And we have to invest in them. We have to volunteer. We have to mentor. It can't all be about self if we want to see our communities improve. So that's what I would say. I challenge people to get up, become engaged with the young people in your communities somehow, in some way, and just try to make a difference.
Well, hey, listen, that's the end of our show. This has been another great one. You've been watching the Grand Boulevard Coalition. I've been your host, Bamani Obadelli. We want to thank CAN TV and all of our coalition partners for allowing us to be here today. And between now and next week, God bless.